Hello, my friends. This is Rabbi Aharon Dobinsky coming to you today from the holy city of Jerusalem in the beautiful country of Israel. Well, we've been pretty fortunate here in Israel. We've taken care. We haven't had as many losses as a lot of places in the country, and we're very proud of that. And we seem to be getting back to normal a little bit more every day. And for this, we are all very grateful to Hashem that He has allowed us to do this. He has now given us a week of 100-degree temperatures. Wow, 100-degree temperatures. It never gets that hot here in Jerusalem, but it is now. Why? Oh, we can only guess. There are those who say that viruses do not do well in hot temperatures. And perhaps this is Hashem's way of saying, let's just cleanse you all completely. I don't know. Perhaps. Anyway, I was talking to one of my people this week, and he asked me, Rabbi, what can I pray for? I said, you can pray for anything. I mean, try to make it reasonable, make it something that is worthwhile, Don't pray for a new yacht. Don't pray for a Mercedes-Benz. I mean, there are things you should pray for. And he said, well, what do you pray for? Oh, well, that's a good question. Actually, the truth is I pray for the same thing every day. In addition to the prayers I say, in addition to my Hitbodedut, there are three things I always ask for. I ask for strength, wisdom, and guidance. Strength, wisdom, guidance. He says, well, what exactly do you mean by that? And tell him, well, the first part is something with that we're going to start with the last verse, then we'll work our way back. Because, well, I'll tell you why at the end. So, guidance. What is guidance? Well, guidance, I think, is pretty obvious. We want guidance. Where do we want the guidance from? Okay, we've talked about this before. Our knowledge is limited. Our knowledge of the past is limited to what we know and the way we remember what we know, which a lot of times is not exactly the way it was. But we do know something about the past. The present, same thing. It's limited to what we know about what goes on around us. And once again, it's also subject to our judgments. And what do we see and how do we see it and how do we interpret it? And then we have the future. And I think anybody would agree that's crapshoot. We have no idea what's going on in the future. Nothing at all. However, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He knows all of these things, and He knows them perfectly, and He knows them without the judgment, without the things that we put in when we remember things. So I ask that He gives us guidance, because He knows better than we do what we should be doing. Where should we be? What should we be doing? What kind of career should we have? How should we learn? How should we treat our children? What is the guidance we need day to day to live a proper life, particularly these days? We have one TV station telling us, oh, you should stay inside for another year because otherwise, God forbid, something terrible will happen to you. We have another TV show saying, get out. It's even worse to stay inside. What do we believe? And the answer is, we can only go based on our own limited knowledge. What do we know? We can base a decision on that. However, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not limited to that. He knows what's coming. He knows how to guide us. He knows how to guide us. And we need His guidance to start with. So that's a great place to start. Ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu for guidance, because He'll guide you where to go. How do you know what His guidance is? How do you see it? Well, the answer is in the second part of this. Strength, wisdom, guidance. That would be wisdom. Wisdom. To see the guidance. To know what it is. Unfortunately, as much as we'd love it to happen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu rarely opens up the clouds and says, all right, people on earth, this is what you should be doing next. We don't get that. What does it come to us? It doesn't come to us like that. The Yetzer Hara, that comes to us in a very loud voice. It's very compelling. But Hashem's voice has been described as a still, small voice. We have to listen very carefully to it. We have to take our head and empty it of all the things that we're thinking, and we have to open it and leave a space for Him to give us the guidance He gives us. And that way, with the wisdom that we would have, we would understand what that guidance is. So we would know what to do. Without the wisdom, the guidance is not necessarily all we need. We need the wisdom to interpret it. What does it mean? What do we need to do on a realistic basis? I mean, we know the basics. We know we got to daven 3 times a day. We know you have to keep kosher. We know all the things in halacha, hopefully, or we're learning them, as to what we should do. And that's great. That is superb. But there's more than that. There's many things we do not know. And we need someone to guide us. And we need to be able to have the wisdom to see what is being told to us. And the last one, which I always say first, is we go strength, wisdom, and guidance. Strength. Why do I say strength first if it's the last? Well, the answer is because it's the most important. Hashem can guide us. He can give us the wisdom to see what his guidance is. Sometimes that's readily available to us. Other times we really have to stretch for it. We really have to pray for it. And it's very, very difficult for us because we're mere mortals. But strength, the strength to do what the wisdom tells us. The guidance tells us something, the wisdom interprets it for us, and the strength to follow through and do the bidding of Hashem. Because sometimes the answers we get are not the answers we want. And we have to always ask ourselves, is this me saying what I want? Or is this coming from a higher source, which is giving me the guidance to do what I need to do? What I want is great. What do you want? What do you want? I want to be on my yacht. I want to be driving around town in my Mercedes. I want to be. There's lots of wannabes. I tell people all the time that my needs are quite simple. My wants are amazingly great. There's so many things I want to do, but they're not that important. What's important is that I have my needs. Hashem provides me with that. He provides you with that. And if you're living in a house or in an apartment, if you have regular food, if your health is pretty good, if you have a decent relationship with your children, and you have a decent relationship with your spouse, and even through this pandemic of being housed together for 2-3 months in the same location, no matter how big or how small it is, being locked into that, and you still have a good relationship, well, you say thank you, Hashem, because what you have is a gift. I mean, he gives us many things through this. We've talked about the fact that, because there's Hashem, which is all the ultimate good, you also have to have the Yetzer Hara, which is the ultimate bad, because there must be a balance in the universe. Without the balance in the universe, we cannot make the decisions as to what to do it is our idea to do this. And that's what we need to do. We need to make decisions based on our own ideas, on our own feelings. We need to make the decisions between what we do and what we don't do, because that's why we're here. This is what changes us. This is what makes our soul grow to the level it's supposed to grow to be able to know what to do, what not to do, because this is the way we have free choice. And free choice tells us we can choose whichever one we want. And what you're seeing right now in the world we live in is a division. And the division gets clearer every day. There are those who side with Hashem, and there are those who don't. And I would love to tell you all the Jews are on the side that sides with Hashem, but that's not necessarily always the case. And I'll tell you, it's never always been the case. In Mitzrayim, when we came out of Egypt, 80% of the Jews decided they'd stay behind because they didn't want to go with Moshe. They didn't want the Ten Commandments. They didn't want all things that were going to come with going. So they decided to stay. And for that, they were left behind permanently. They all died during the plague of darkness. We don't want to be the ones who are left behind and die during the plague of darkness. And a lot of people are in a position where they're not getting it still. And we need to do our best to help the people that we know understand. You got good, you got bad, you got nothing in between. You pick one. If you pick bad, it's not a good prognosis. Because like I told you before, at the end, the good guys always win. Why? Because Hashem is in charge, and he's a good guy, and he wants us to win as well. For everything he gives us both sides of the coin. We have a bad pandemic, and we have to stay inside, we have restrictions, and we can't go out, and we can't do this, and we can't do that, we have to wear masks, we have to wear gloves. Let's look at the other side of the coin. We have what we've asked for all of our lives. The time to learn, the time to daven, time to spend with our wife, children, grandchildren, the time we have to spend quality time with them, to get them to know us, to know the principles that we live by, and to try to get them to live by the same principles. This is part of what we are here for generations to come. And it's so clear because no matter what we talk about, we always talk about Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, the progenitors of our religion. Why? Because they set the template. Remember the template? We talked about this before. They set the guide on how we're supposed to live. So we have to do the same for ours. We have to set the guide. And we've given the opportunity to do that. We've been given the one thing we've asked for all of our lives, the time to do it. So let's do that, my friends. Let's take the time. Let's daven more. Let's learn more. Let's teach our children more. Let's be better with our spouse. Let's treat those in our lives with the importance that they deserve. I have a very dear friend of mine who just told me last night that he had lost his wife. And I could hear how distraught he was in his voice, even though it's been a couple of months. But still, it makes you think about what you have and how you have to learn to appreciate it. Not just in your own mind, but show your appreciation to those who are closest to you, your spouse, your children, your dear friends. Pray for them every day. Pray for their well-being. And pray for your own well-being, that you can be there to help them. And if you do all these things, you will have all the things that I've told you in the past you will get. You will have a life of joy, a life of love, a life of fulfillment, with strength, wisdom, and guidance. Be well, my friends. Shavua Tov. Have a fabulous week ahead. And if you have any questions or suggestions for what you'd like me to talk about, please feel free to put it here, and I will do my best to cover it for you. All right? God bless. All the best.